Rec Room invasion events? More like Rec Room in Smasia. In Smasia. In Smasia. Oh, hey. What's up? So we all know that Rec Room's invasion events are getting a little bit old. How did we start out with one of the best events in Rec Room history, but end up with people groaning every time a new version of it's announced? Well, let's talk about it. But first, this video is sponsored by the Invasion Science Shovel, because I had to pay a lot of tokens for it. So use code BVRR in Rec Room and subscribe to help me get those tokens back. In late 2022, the first invasion event began. This event stood out from every other one Rec Room had done before because it actually had gameplay for people to partake in. I know, it's crazy, but basically every other Rec Room event up to that point, like the NBA or League of Heroes, didn't really actually have anything for players to do. Invasion asked players to go into custom rooms and find newly placed hidden power cores all around them. Players would earn XP from finding those cores, which they would then get credits for, and they could use those credits to buy new exclusive outfit items, which I will let you determine the quality of yourself. There were some elements that players could pay for, like a really overpowered XP boost and a single special item that they could use to unlock extra power cores, but really it was still pretty balanced for players who didn't buy anything. The first invasion event was the perfect union between Rec Room, creators, and players. Rec Room got a bunch of people to play the game more and made a bunch of money from stuff they were selling because it was actually good stuff. Creators got the chance to have their rooms included in the event and have more players come to their rooms. And of course, players had a new gameplay experience that they could progress through with their friends that was actually fun and rewarding with new items and it being well balanced for everybody. It was just overall a very good event that everyone ended up happy with, and players were super excited to see what events Rec Room would do next. So thank you all for what? They just did it again 2 months later in December? Okay, well, we can talk about that too, I guess. Invasion Science Party was basically the exact same thing as the first invasion event with a few minor changes. There was a dance floor, a rebalanced XP boost, new items, a new mechanic where you get bonus XP if you were with your friends, obviously some new holiday theming, but ultimately it was still the exact same gameplay loop of going in custom rooms, grabbing a special item, getting XP, getting credits, and buying the items with those credits. In my opinion, this event kind of just felt like a quickly thrown together clone of the first event, because they didn't expect it to be such a big success. So it was a little weird, but you know, whatever. We got all the invasion out of our system and we're all ready to do something else now. So 2 months later, they did the exact same thing again with Invasion 2. Wait, Invasion 2? Wasn't the last one the second invasion event? No, silly. That was Science Party, not Invasion 2. Try and keep up. This is also the first invasion event I didn't play at all, so I don't have an outfit for it. You guessed it, Invasion 2 was the same thing again with some minor tweaks. New items to get, another rebalanced XP boost that still sucked, new theming, and all that. This time they did a thing where there were multiple items that gave you access to extra power cores instead of just one that you could get by buying it for tokens. But they also made it so you could get these items for credits if you chose to do so. I think this was a really smart way of having more purchasable items while still making it fair for free-to-play players. But ultimately, these changes did little for the core gameplay and people were starting to get upset. Whatever good graces people had for the first invasion event quickly dwindled the second and then third time around. So surely, Rec Room would take all of that feedback and not have a... Okay, whatever. Obviously, we all know that only 2 months later, Rec Room would do another invasion event, the Science Restoration Party. This one added the gimmick of rooms having more than one power core in them, so people had to spend more time in a single room if they wanted to get all the XP. They also actually finally balanced the XP boost properly. I think these were pretty good changes. That being said, that's where we're at right now, and me and everyone else is kind of sick of these events. Ask any Rec Room player, and they'll probably tell you that Invasion 1 was the best. But when you really think about it, what has changed between now and Invasion 1? Most of the tweaks made in subsequent events were positive, or at the very least were left unchanged. So theoretically, people should like this latest event the same, if not more, than the first invasion event. The problem isn't with the gameplay though, it's with the timing. I really think that if Invasion was like a yearly event instead of every 2 months, it would be something that all players get genuinely excited to see come back when it comes to be that time of year again. It's like the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's. You know, my audience of mostly preteen boys, I'm sure you're all massive fans of the Shamrock Shake. If McDonald's had it year-round, nobody would care about it. Less people would be excited for it, and less people would buy it. But by having it only be around for one time of year, people go crazy for it when it comes back, and McDonald's makes a whole bunch of money off it, more than they would otherwise. Maybe I do need a more relevant example for my audience, like the Fortnite item shop. Okay, guys, so this is basically just like when they put Eren Yeager in the Fortnite item shop, except He's only there for 2 weeks, so you gotta buy him now. Having the invasion events be more limited is a win-win. Just because something makes a bunch of money once doesn't immediately mean you have to do it as often as possible now. Maybe it only happening once is what made it so good in the first place. What I'd like to see Rec Room do is limit invasion to happening once a year, but take the concepts that made the invasion event good and apply them to other events in other times of the year. But what other kinds of events could they even do? Well, lucky for you, I've got the BVR Rec Room Events Ideas Corner that we can head over to craft some of our own. Wrong way again. Alright, so let's first remember what made Invasion so good in the first place. The main thing is that there was actual gameplay for players to do that was enjoyable, and players got rewarded from doing that gameplay with some sort of progression or outfit item. The gameplay felt fair and fun for everyone, whether they paid for an outfit item or not, and also it felt like something larger that the entire platform could take part in. Anyone can go and play a game of paintball, but that specific experience will be limited to the 8 people who were in that match. The great thing about events is that it unites everyone on the platform all at once to feel like something greater than an average game. Okay, so here's the first idea. Remember in the League of Heroes how everyone was split into different teams and then they did absolutely nothing with it? Well, I'm stealing this idea. Put everyone onto teams again, and the main focus of this event is going to be the friendly competition between those teams. And I don't mean whatever non-existent roleplay competition the League of Heroes teams had. I mean actual, real, measured competition. The event could last a month, and every week could focus on a different game. For example, week 1 could focus on paintball, and be like whichever team gets the more total kills in paintball during this week wins. Then in every paintball lobby, there could be a live updating counter showing the team rankings. Then at the end of the week, whichever team won the objective gets a special outfit item or prize or something. People would get together and grind these games, I promise you. And there's plenty of chances for Rec Room to make a bunch of money off of this, like an outfit item that gives you double points or something. The second week could be the same thing for laser tag, the third for like stunt runner, you get the idea. Then at the end of the month, maybe there's some sort of big battle between the teams to end it all off. Give it a cool name like Rec Room Clash, and then bam, you've got a whole event that runs entirely on pre-existing content just like Invasion. You can take that idea for free, Rec Room. I mean, but if you do end up doing it, you could like Venmo me $5 or something. That'd be nice too. Now, assuming they'd be willing to do events for new Rec Room original content as well, I think that's where some of the best ideas for events come into play. Both Showdown and Rec Rally released and then just kind of whimpered out. But for this new Dead by Daylight clone we know they're working on, what if there was some sort of month-long release event that stretched into all the parts of Rec Room? We know it's a horror game, so what if people got like points by playing it or other horror games on the platform? And then at the end, they could do a collective multi-instance boss fight event against one of the monsters from the new Rec Room original. I'm also kind of stealing that boss fight idea from League of Heroes, but they did parkour instead of a boss fight, and then they still never did the boss fight idea, so they could do it here. I guess I'd have to know more about the new Rec Room original to do a fleshed out event idea for it, but you get the gist. These are events that follow these same 4 principles while also being distinct from Invasion. I feel like I should probably mention that while working on this video, I did discuss this issue with some of the Rec Room staff, and the people that I talked to gave me a lot more insight on how these events are viewed internally by staff as opposed to how they're viewed externally by players. Like, for example, it was really weird to me that they did Invasion 1, then Invasion Science Party, and then Invasion 2. Like, why did they call it Invasion 2 when it was the 3rd Invasion event? Well, fun fact, the Science Party and Science Restoration events aren't actually Invasion events. All the players just call them Invasion events. Yes, the Party and Restoration events have similar gameplay and theming to Invasion 1 and 2, but apparently their purpose is supposed to be as kind of smaller catch-up events to re-release items for players who may have missed the previous actual Invasion event. With that context in mind, we go from having 4 Invasion events all immediately after each other to only having 2 Invasion events more spaced out with 2 smaller filler events in between, which seems more reasonable. That being said, there is absolutely nothing differentiating the size of these events to players. All of them still have new outfit items, all of them still have theming, and all of them still have modified gameplay mechanics. So when the Science Party limited time event has about the same amount of new stuff as Invasion 2, it really doesn't feel like Science Party is that much of a smaller event than Invasion 2 is. That being said, the staff I talked to are aware of this kind of miscommunication between Rec Room and the player base and are probably going to try and do better with it in the future. Now, obviously, they couldn't really tell me anything about future Rec Room events they're planning, so I can't promise you that there won't be another Invasion event in 2 months, but if I had to guess, I think over the rest of the year, they're probably going to try and add some more variety into their events, which means that the kind of whole core issue of this video is already probably solved. So I guess this video was kinda pointless to make now, huh? Me on my way in Rec Room 2037 to join in the Invasion 53 event to find the power core and furry fun roleplay How Far Can You Jump awesome costume park.